Good afternoon, I'm Stephanie Davis and welcome to Griffith University News. In the wake of the shocking public deaths of domestic violence victims Tara Brown and Karina Locke, calls for legal help have reached an all-time high. The Robina Community Legal Centre's doors are bursting open thanks to their free volunteer legal service. However, they cannot expand to meet this public demand due to their lack of state government funding. April Clark reports.
A short consultation with a lawyer could cost you an absolute fortune. But here at the Robina Community Legal Centre, advice from local lawyers is completely free.
11 lawyers, 9 lawyers on desks on a variety of legal matters from family law, criminal law, civil litigation, employment law and a variety of other matters.
This volunteer legal service is being overwhelmed by calls for help from Gold Coast domestic violence victims, and is surviving on next to nothing after failing to gain state government funding.
We regularly turn people away because either we have too many people and there's not enough time. We have to tell them to come back next week.
The Attorney General Yvette Darth, in a letter to the centre, explained there's probably no need for more than one community legal centre in the city of Gold Coast. We may consider funding, but not before 2017.
Why would one legal centre in a city this big that's having the Commonwealth Games year after next, why would one be enough? That makes no sense.
Local councillors have come together to rally their support for the centre.
The early intervention work at the Robina Community Legal Centre reduces all sorts of costs, including costs to society. They are absolutely deserving of more funding, because I don't think there's any other service that delivers better bang for your buck.
Before the Shadow Treasurer's visit, he was unaware of the scale of the centre's operations.
They're looking for answers from a government that should be providing it. And that's what, as local members, we're all LNP members here on the Gold Coast, and so we're committing to try to find out those answers.
Staying afloat by raising money through Bunnings barbecues, fundraisers, and even a donation envelope on the way in, the Robina Community Legal Centre is now calling for public support, asking for signatures for their petition addressed to the state government about their fight for funding.
Because if we weren't there doing that, these 30 people that we see a night, every week, 1,500 people a year, wouldn't have anywhere to go.
April Clark, Griffith University News.
Australian tourists have been a contributing factor to the increase in economic growth in Vietnam. Not only do they provide business and revenue, but many tourists are donating time and money to those affected by the war.
Vietnam has become a popular tourist destination for Australians, although many are not visiting the country just to experience a relaxing holiday. Many tourists have come to pay their respect to those affected by the war.
Sometimes they do a lot of charity things, like they give money, they give food, and a lot of clothes, something like that for the children in the place that used to have a Vietnam war.
Whether Australians are travelling to Vietnam for a holiday or to see the remnants of the war, tourism numbers are increasing every year.
I think maybe it's more than 50%. Sometimes during summertime it could be more than 60 or 70.
Small businesses in Vietnam not only rely on the business that Australian tourists provide, they also love taking care of their customers.
I want to take care of my customer, and I'm in love with this job, and when my customer, everything feel happy, and I feel really happy with this job, and that's my favor.
Economic growth has helped more than 30 million people out of poverty in Vietnam since the early 90s. The success of small businesses rely on the increasing number of Australian tourists.
Many people come from different countries, but I think, the Australia people is very, very nice.
Whether Australian tourists visit for the war remnants or simply for a holiday, Vietnamese businesses are grateful for the revenue that tourists bring. I'm Stephanie Davis, reporting for Griffith University News.
To a story close to home, 22-year-old Griffith University student Brianna Woodward has been confined to a wheelchair her whole life. Despite the obstacles facing her on a daily basis, Brianna is determined to work hard in the hopes of achieving her dreams of becoming a music journalist. Jacob Chico reports.
Brianna Woodward is an inspiration. The 22-year-old Griffith University student on the Gold Coast is completing a Bachelor of Journalism with the hope of being a music journalist in the future.
I've always grown up around music, and because my dad, when he was younger, he was a singer.
However, on the way to making her dreams a reality, she is faced with a major obstacle on a daily basis.
I've been in a wheelchair since I was born. I have spina bifida, which is a neural tube defect affecting the spine. It affects the nerves in the spine.
For over 30 years, Griffith University has had in place a disability program designed to support students with a disability.
Griffith Disability Support Program is there to support all students who have disability. They report to us and we will look at what it is that they need during their studies.
While opportunity is limited if confined to a wheelchair, studying at Griffith University is certainly not.
There's a lot of outreach that encourages people to attend uni and say, yes, because you do have a disability, you can still come to university and you can still meet the inherent requirements of a program.
For Brianna, the drive and will she has to get to where she wants to be is remarkable, and she knows that there is still hope for herself and others in a similar situation to reach their goals. And while there are opportunities to work in Australia, travel and work overseas does appeal to Brianna.
Yep. I want to go to the US and open a lot of the music market in there.
There's no question university study is demanding. However, Brianna is grateful for all it has prepared her for.
You've got to work hard and you've got to meet deadlines and all that sort of thing. And so that was really beneficial to me.
Almost 20% of Australians are living with a disability. For Brianna, this is something that won't stop her from chasing her dreams.
I would just say just keep trying and just keep finding ways to, if you have to modify things to fit you, just do whatever you can to get to where you want to be.
Jacob Chico, Griffith University News.
It's the ongoing debate surrounding the sweet white granules we all enjoy. But is our country's sugar consumption getting out of control? Carly Madsen has the story.
99% fat-free yogurt, fruit juice and muesli bars. They are the foods that are branded as healthy alternatives, but instead are packed full of sugar.
It doesn't taste any good when you take the fats out. So what they do then, of course, they add sugar, they add salt to make it taste better.
Most of us are aware when we eat a bag of lollies it contains sugar. What we don't realise is foods marketed as healthier options could actually be just as bad.
We don't realise how much added sugar we have in our diet because there can be added sugar in products that you don't really associate with being sweet, like tomato sauce.
When we consume sugar, it gives us a dopamine hit, which is the hormone that makes you feel good, making us want to go back for more and more.
The problem with it is it's highly addictive and it's in everything and we don't actually know how much we're consuming. That's the biggest problem with it. It's more that it's hidden. It's the hidden sugars, I think, that are an issue.
It's everything in moderation. I suppose as long as people are getting out and exercising and stuff like that, a little bit here and there is fine.
Recent ABS statistics have found that sugar consumption in Australia is at an all-time high, with people consuming more than double the amount of sugar recommended by the World Health Organization. Over half the sugar Australians consume is through added sugar, but Dr. Ball says our bodies do need sugar, just in the right form.
Good quality sugar that we might find from whole grain products help with our digestion, help with our energy levels.
Monica Colmes-Joe says the best way to reduce added sugar in your diet is to only shop around the perimeter of the supermarket.
Because as soon as you go into where all the processed food are, it's all got lots of sugar.
Carly Madsen for Griffith University News.
The Safe Schools Coalition program has led to a controversial debate questioning whether the content of the LGBTI anti-bullying program is appropriate for primary and high school children. Prominent Queensland lobbyists have petitioned to the state government to present their opinions. Jade Maidley reports.
The Safe Schools Coalition program, which is an anti-bullying program for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex community, is dangerous for our children and promotes contested gender theories, according to Wendy Francis, the Queensland State Director of the Australian Christian Lobby. Ms Francis has developed an e-petition asking for an inquiry into the appropriateness of the Safe Schools content because she believes the anti-bullying program promotes disputed gender theories and radical sex education.
The gender theories that are promoted in this sort of gender transitioning is definitely contested.
Ms Francis says the content is age inappropriate, even for high school students.
I don't believe that any child should be bullied, but neither do I believe that age inappropriate materials should be going into our schools.
Human rights lawyer and associate professor Susan Harris-Rimmer was one of 650 Australian health professionals and university academics to sign an open letter demonstrating support for the Safe Schools Coalition program.
It's the credentials of the people who've developed it are excellent. The content to me seemed extremely reasonable.
Professor Susan Harris-Rimmer says it is important to trust in the qualifications of the people who built the program.
The program was evidence-based, and I believe in evidence-based policy.
Regarding the radical sex education claims against the anti-bullying program, Professor Susan Harris-Rimmer disagreed.
I think what is radical is espousing what is basically a religious-based objection to something that is in a secular school environment.
Brisbane Pride Committee member and restaurant owner Michael O'Brien is responsible for the opposing petition against Wendy Francis. He believes mainstream sex education isn't effective enough for students to understand their LGBTI peers.
They don't actually treat them like real people, and then you put them at risk of being otherized by their peers. So the program is vital because it is educating young people to understand those people around them.
Mr O'Brien said he is disappointed that cuts to the anti-bullying program have already been made by the government. However, he will be persistent with supporting safe schools.
So I will be fighting hard to make sure that we get that funding to the program in Queensland by whatever means we can.
On the 18th of April, the two e-petitions debating the content of the Safe Schools Coalition program closed. In total, over 21,000 people gave their signatures. However, no response was tabled by the Queensland Government. The issue is ongoing, and Queensland state schools listed with the program still remain anonymous. I'm Jade Madeley, reporting for Griffith University News.
2016 has certainly been the year of fascinating experimental technology, now adding virtual reality headsets to the list. But like all new technology, there are many unexplored risks which can pose hazards to consumers' health and well-being if misused. Reporter Jaden Hausfeld has the story.
Virtual reality headgears are finally here, with the releases of the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive hitting the mainstream market, with more devices to roll out later in the year. Although these extraordinary pieces of hardware can do a lot of cool things, they do come with long lists of health risks and warnings for extended use. Shawnee Bowman is a VR lab manager in Brisbane. She says limiting the time you use VR will help counter side effects.
We limit the actual VR experience, the time you're in the headset, to about 10 to 15 minutes tops.
Manufacturers of these headsets, like Oculus, have put in extensive health and safety warnings, outlining possible symptoms that can be contracted, such as seizures, loss of awareness, impaired balance, and much more. Even prohibiting children younger than 12 to use their device, as prolonged use could negatively impact their hand-eye coordination, balance, and multitasking ability. Jeremy Bailenson is the creator of the VR lab in Brisbane and says VR is far from being perfected.
It won't be perfected for some time. In the near term, there's going to be issues of fatigue on the eyes. There's going to be issues of forgetting where you are. In general, we recommend taking it slowly.
For the most part, researchers say that much like figuring out the positive and negatives of our new smartphone obsession, we'll figure out how to handle VR.
Like all new technology, the first generation of these VR headgears will be further developed and improved upon in the years to come. So using the headgears in moderation and limiting the time you spend in it is the best way to reduce any long-term negative side effects to keep you enjoying VR right now. This is Jaden Hausfeld reporting for Griffith University News.
That's all the news for today. I'm Stephanie Davis and you have been watching Griffith University News.